afternoon, New Orleans, and thank you so much for welcoming our Wilson family for the family reunion. My name is Lexi Mickens. I'm a founder of a nonprofit called Run It Back, where we create these equitable communities through basketball and sport. And today I have the honor of speaking with some of the best photographers based in New Orleans for our family reunion discussion around Shoot or Shoot. So with that being said, I would love to go around the table and introduce each of our panelists. To my left, we have Derick Hingle. Derick, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Derick Hingle. I've been a photographer since 2006. I actually got into photography because of Hurricane Katrina, was wiped out. Loved photography back in college, didn't do too much with it, and decided I wanted to go back into it, didn't want to be in the oil field anymore. So I started working in photography, and things just worked out where started small newspaper, ended up with a wire agency and clients all over the place now. So I've been really enjoying photography the last 5 years for sure.
So exciting to hear, Derick, and thank you for sharing your story. I do have a few questions for you, so we'll come back to you shortly. To your left, we have Kewe Ukpolo. Kewe, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name's Kewe Ukpolo, by the way. Yeah.
Kewe, sorry, Kewe.
No, it's no problem. And I'm a photographer here in New Orleans. I got my own digital marketing company called Polo Vision. I'm CEO of Polo Vision Media. I do all type of videography and photography work throughout the country, really. I started off as an accountant. I did accounting for 5 years. I graduated from Southern University. And after the 5th year, I realized that it's not my passion. I like to give, I like to help and provide for others. So I put myself, what I learned in accounting, I just applied in photography and just put myself in high pressure moments, because that's all you do in accounting. And from there, it just allowed me to create my own style of videography and photography that's been able to take me throughout the country. So that's really it.
Yeah, I love it. Talk about transferable skills, right? Starting in one job, taking your passions to the other. So thank you for joining us here. And to your left, we have Gus Stark. Hi, Gus. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Gus Stark. Been a photographer for about the past 6 years. I did my undergraduate at Louisiana State University and graduated in marketing, and worked for the school newspaper for about a year, and then just kind of met the right people in the athletic department there. So I've been there full time for about 3.5 years, and I just kind of cover all the sports, so it's fun. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us. And last but certainly not least, we have Chansey Augustine. Welcome to the table.
Thank you for having me. My name's Chansey. I'm the owner and photographer of Channel 91 Photography. I've been in business for a little under 2 years. I've worked with LSU Athletics, the men's and women's basketball team. I've photographed the Pelicans. I've photographed the Saints. I'm photographing actually the Final Four this weekend. Excuse me. I've had a lot of success, and I owe that to the student athletes I've worked with the last 2 years. Starting, probably around COVID. When COVID started, I did 10 free graduation photo shoots for kids around the city. And one of the kids wanted to do a sports themed photo shoot. And I fell in love with sports photography ever since then. Excuse my sinuses. And I've been doing it ever since. I love it. My dad passed away last year, and it kept me close to him as well. Because we shared the bond of sports. So I love doing what I do, and I love giving back to the community, and I love placing women on platforms like this one. So I'm honored to be here.
Thank you, and likewise, and my sincere condolences for your father, but I know he's with you through sport, and extremely proud of you. So with that, we'll get into a few questions to hear more about your journey. I know you each mentioned photographing things outside of basketball, but I would really love to hear what inspires you about being a photographer in the basketball space. So Derick, we'll start with you.
Basketball is just an amazing sport to cover, and so fast-paced. Things are happening just so quickly, and catching those peak moments can be really difficult. It's one of my favorite sports to photograph. Absolutely, I've had the opportunity to photograph the Final Four in New Orleans back in 2014, photographed 3 years of the NBA Finals back when I was shooting for a client, made some amazing pictures, shot LeBron James's first championship, so have some amazing memories from that. And basketball, just how it inspires me to shoot, it's just the athleticism. You're down there and you can have an athlete, they tower over you and they could fall on you and crush you at any time. I'm inspired not to be crushed.
Photographers, right? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Derick. And Derick just mentioned some iconic moments he's had an opportunity to photograph. So, Kewe, I want to ask, what do you look for in capturing the perfect shot? Aside, not getting crumbled, of course. But
So, of course, there's so many perfect shots in the world, you know. But for me, I love just everything outside the actual game of basketball. So, if somebody's tying their shoe on the court, that's love right there. That's perfect B-roll shots. If somebody's getting warmed up in the shot, that's perfect. That's perfect shots for me, because that tells a story outside of just what people see on the NBA TV. So I like to look at photos outside the basketball court. Now during the game, of course, a dunk, some raw emotion right after a score, those are perfect shots. But I love the personal shots outside the game, after the game, before the game, them getting ready. And I love doing highlight film. So just them in the gym, correcting their skills. You know, people don't see that. People don't see the hard work it takes. So those are the shots that I love to take also. So
yeah, I love that. The community camaraderie approach, right? The conversations, the game outside of the game, so to speak. And Gus, what would you say that you look for in the perfect shot? Every photographer has such a different eye, so I would love to hear from you.
I would say just trying to capture the emotion of the athlete. I think that's what's really interesting about basketball compared to other sports. Compared to football is you can actually see the person's face and you're up close, just kind of showing off all their hard work and just kind of emotion of what goes into that moment.
Speaking of emotion, Gus, I'm actually going to throw this question back to you. I would love to know, how much do you know about the about the athletes that you photograph prior to actually photographing them? As a photographer, do you have a chance to do a deep dive and learn more about the school that you're shooting, the students that you're photographing?
For sure, yeah. What's nice about being part of a team is that you kind of you start with them from the off season and their workouts and practices, which lead up to the games. So you kind of get a feel for how they play and how they act, which helps a lot when shooting, because you kind of know if certain players celebrate after different plays, and even with coaches and stuff like that. So yeah, it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Gus. And Chansey, I'm going to throw this conversation back to you. What inspires you about being a photographer in the basketball space? You spoke about your relationship with your father and how you shared the love of basketball. Can you tell us more?
It definitely would be the relationship building with the athletes, mostly the student athletes, the kids in high school. I love the reactions they have when they see photos of themselves. I love it. And I love to place them on platforms. I love to give them a platform to have, because kids in Louisiana, they don't get the platforms that kids in Florida and kids in California get. So it feels good to see them get excited about things that they're doing and the impact that they're making within their community. And they're going to use those photos in the near future. So that's one of my whys.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of my whys.
Yeah, being a former college athlete myself, I still have distinct photos that photographers have taken that I know who have taken them. And I'm I still can't believe you shot my college championship in 2014. I mean, the moments you all capture stay with student athletes themselves for their entire duration of the sport. So with that, Gus, what's your favorite photo you've taken? You can tell me a non-basketball photo and a basketball photo if you'd like. I know you've captured a bunch.
Yeah, I would say probably a basketball photo would be, so in 2018 we were playing in the round of 32. We were playing Maryland, and our point guard hit the game-winning layup at the end of the game to beat Maryland to send us to the Sweet 16. And I just run back to the locker room. Everybody's just all piled in there. big old Powerade cooler right when the point guard walks in. They just dump it on him. So that was probably my favorite moment. Just kind of everybody's celebration for all the hard work that they've put in.
I love it. And Kewe, what would you say is your favorite photo?
Well, I was telling you earlier. I was telling them earlier. One of my favorite photos has to be of one of my inspiring boxers that's growing up. His name's John Boy, and I believe boxing is one of the hardest sports to shoot, because if a boxer can't see the punch, a photographer can't see the punch. So in order for you to get that right shot, you have to be anticipative. You have to know the boxer. You have to know what type of person and how he likes to fight, and you apply all those things to get that perfect shot of just that smush on the face. Boom. He's about to punch. Basketball is a little bit easier. That's why I say boxing, and so
Yeah. Wow, you'd have to show me that photo after. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, definitely.
And Derick, what would you say is your favorite photo you captured? I know you mentioned a few. Anthony Davis throwing confetti.
I have hands down is my favorite photo ever. The Saints, the moment they went to the Super Bowl, I photographed the sideline as the kick went through. I did not look at the kick for Garrett Hartley. I looked at the sideline and just got everybody's emotion rushing off the sideline. It went viral in New Orleans. It was on like doorways and stuff. It's just everybody had that photo, and unfortunately I didn't make any money off of it because everybody had that photo with it
That's
going
a whole
viral.
other discussion about photography.
Absolutely. Basketball, I have so many memories, but probably my first NBA Finals with the confetti coming down, LeBron James celebrating his first championship. Even though I'm not a huge LeBron James fan, that moment was special.
Yeah, I clearly wasn't there for any of your moments, but through the conversation, I feel like I was. So I'm excited to see these photos. And Chansey, what would you say was your favorite photo you've ever captured?
Last year I had the opportunity of shooting the Iverson Classic, and Jaden, as he was going up for a dunk, it was a dunk contest. He bounced the ball to himself, and the ball landed right in front of his face, and it had the name of the ball on it, The Rock. And it was a beautiful photo. That's probably my favorite photo. I love eyes. I love eyes tell stories for me. It's a beautiful photo, and yeah, that's probably my favorite photo.
Yeah. That was so intriguing to hear each of your favorite photos. Now, I want to turn the conversation to really focus on advice. So I think now photography just continues to become more and more popular. You see aspiring photographers, videographers all across your state and country. What's some advice, Derick, that you wish you had when starting in photography?
Put bigger value on your work. Don't work for one spec and for free for events. It just downgrades the industry. And watch the contracts that you sign for events. Hold on to your copyright if you can. That's some of the advice I wish I would have had when I first started.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for any entrepreneur listening overall, right? What would you say is your piece of advice?
So I would say just relationships. It doesn't matter how good your photography is if you don't have a relationship as well as the person that's hiring you. So one thing that I learned is that your personality matters, and it even matters in other businesses like accounting. If you want to be successful, you better have a personality that matches what you want to do for love. And so as a photographer, I love what I do. And I realized as a person, I can socialize. And by socializing, that gets you in the door. Your photography might not be as well as you thought it was 2 years ago as you are now. But you still were getting those opportunities because you believed yourself and you made the other person believe themselves. So for any young photographer, I would tell them just to always shoot and to always build relationships with everybody that you meet.
Yeah, I think it's so important, right? Especially photographers, it's like the scenes behind the scenes, right? And getting a personality to match what your name is on social media and what they can just first come across. So, Gus, what would you say is your piece of advice?
Kind of building off of what he just said, I would kind of say, like, especially in sports photography, that you don't always have to shoot big events to get experience. Like, you can start at the high school level, middle school level. Like, you don't have to, shoot Final Fours or just kind of work your way up. And I would also talk about just like camera gear isn't like you don't have to have the best gear to create good photos. It was kind of like whenever I started off, I kind of wanted all this crazy gear to I thought that would just give me good photos. But you gotta kind of work with what you got, and I think that's just the best way to go about it.
Oh, I love that advice. And renting gear, right? You can rent gear too. There's like so many different ways to go about it. What would you say is your piece of advice?
Most definitely persistence and consistency. For me, always being persistent has gotten me a lot of opportunities, small ones and big ones. So I would definitely say always believe in yourself, know your worth, and could just keep working.
I love that. I am going to ask 2 more questions before we wrap up our family reunion discussion. So, Chansey, I wanted to start with you. What are other elements in basketball photography, and I'm sure there's a list, that people don't necessarily see? So you shoot an event, you're finished with the event. What's the in-between of actually capturing the shot and delivering the shot like for you?
That's a good question. You caught me off guard with that one.
No, it's a lot. You all do so much behind the lens, away from your camera. So
yeah, I really don't know.
Well, do you want to talk about like editing time? And,
editing for me, I enjoy it. I enjoy going through the moments and just trying to like break down the ones that I really, really, really like, and just going through and editing those. But I always I goes back to the eyes. I always go for the eyes or the shots that people don't tend to like. Like yesterday, I was sitting next to a photographer, and I was looking at his camera as he was deleting some of the photos. I'm like, that's a photo that I would have kept. Like I always want to be different, I would say. So that's I look for those shots that are like that I don't have to edit, I would say. But I do edit it, but I don't have to put that much work in. It still looks like different. It still looks different than the other shots, I would say.
Yeah, no, I love it. Being different within your own art and craft is such an important thing and really speaks to your journey as a photographer. So, Gus, I would love to ask, what are you looking forward to most this weekend in terms of photography? Any special moments you want to capture or any moments you're excited to see how it's captured?
So I'm not photographing anything this weekend, but I'm just excited to just kind of be in the atmosphere of the city. I think New Orleans is a great city to host a Final Four because it's in walking distance, and there's just so much good culture and energy around the city, so I'm just looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I am as well. Kewe, what would you say is the moment you're looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I'm also not photographing this weekend, but I'm looking forward for Coach K to win the championship.
Right, lots of historic photos are coming out of this weekend for sure, to say the least.
Yes, definitely. Just Coach K, So that's basically the whole purpose of this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And Derick?
If I was photographing Coach K getting the championship would be what I would want. I've already, I think, photographed. The thing I was looking forward most to was the slam dunk contest.
Nice. Okay.
I work with University of New Orleans, and they hired me to photograph their athlete that was participating.
Yeah.
I've just done some small things this week. The 3-on-3 tournament next door at the Sugar Mill. That's been fun. They're playing basically money ball. Every win they get $1,000.
Wow.
So they just toss this cash up in the air, and it's been fun to photograph. And one of the guys just throwing cash at me. It's copy money, but it's but they get an actual $1,000.
Yeah, very neat. Well, it was an extreme honor to hear each of your stories and to sit amongst this table with you all, a part of Wilson's family reunion. So thank you so much for sitting at the table with us.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.